Welcome back to the channel, and I'm glad you're here, because today we need to slow this whole conversation down and actually tell the truth about what's happening with Social Security. Not the watered-down version you hear in press conferences or sound bites on cable news. You've probably seen the headlines by now. Congress passed a bill, extra payments are supposedly coming. Some people are saying checks are hitting accounts right now. Others are saying this is the biggest Social Security change in decades. And as always, Washington is patting itself on the back like it just saved the day. But let me tell you something straight up. This story did not start with generosity. It started with injustice. And unless you understand what was broken in the first place, you won't understand why this law matters, who it helps, and why you absolutely cannot afford to sit back and assume the government is going to get this right on its own. For decades, millions of Americans played by the rules. They worked hard, they paid taxes, they paid into Social Security, they served their communities. Teachers stood in classrooms year after year shaping future generations. Firefighters ran into burning buildings. Police officers worked long nights and weekends keeping streets safe. Many of these people didn't just work one job, they worked two, sometimes three. Summers, weekends, nights off, retail, construction, driving trucks, office work, side gigs before side gigs were even a thing, and every time they worked one of those private sector jobs, Social Security taxes came out of their paycheck just like everyone else's. But when retirement finally came, the government turned around and said, actually, we're not going to pay you what you earned. And that's where this whole mess begins. The law everyone is talking about right now is called the Social Security Fairness Act. It sounds nice, right? Fairness. But the reason this law exists is because for more than 40 years, the system has been deeply unfair to a very specific group of Americans. Two obscure technical provisions buried in Social Security law quietly drained money from retirees every single month. Those provisions are called the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pension Offset. Most people had never heard of them until they were already retired and already hurt by them, and that's not an accident. The Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP, goes all the way back to 1983. The official explanation was that it was designed to prevent people from receiving a so-called windfall if they worked both in jobs that paid into Social Security and jobs that didn't. The theory was that Social Security's benefit formula would overestimate how poor someone was if part of their career didn't show up in Social Security records. So Congress decided the solution was to reduce benefits. Sounds technical, sounds boring, sounds reasonable if you don't look too closely. But here's what it actually did in real life. It punished people who worked multiple careers, it punished public servants, it punished people who never gamed the system, never cheated, never avoided taxes, teachers who spent summers working retail so they could pay the bills, firefighters who drove trucks or worked construction on their days off, police officers who worked security or second jobs just to support their families. These people paid into Social Security with every private sector paycheck. That money went straight into the system. The government happily took it. But when it came time to pay benefits, the government said, we're going to reduce what you get, sometimes by hundreds of dollars a month. And when I say hundreds, I'm not exaggerating. There are countless real stories of retirees seeing their Social Security checks cut by $300, $400, $500, even $700 a month, month after month, year after year. That's not a small adjustment. That's rent money, that's groceries, that's prescriptions, that's the difference between financial stability and constant stress. And all of it happened quietly, buried in paperwork most people didn't understand until it was too late to change anything. Then there's the Government Pension Offset, or GPO, which in many ways is even more brutal. This one hits surviving spouses, widows and widowers who already lost a partner and then found out the financial safety net they thought they had was basically gone. Here's how it works. Imagine a woman who spent her career as a teacher. She paid into a state pension system instead of Social Security. Her husband worked in the private sector for decades, paying into Social Security every single paycheck. When he passes away, common sense says she should be eligible for survivor benefits based on his work record. That's what survivor benefits are for. That's what he paid for. But under the Government Pension Offset, the government reduces her survivor benefit by 2/3 of her pension amount. In many cases, that reduction wipes out the survivor benefit entirely. Zero. Gone. So this woman loses her husband and then loses the financial support he worked his entire life to provide. Not because he didn't pay in, not because she didn't qualify, but because of a rule most people never even knew existed. That's not fairness. That's cruelty dressed up as policy. For decades, advocates have been fighting to get rid of these provisions. Bills were introduced, hearings were held, promises were made, and year after year, nothing changed. Millions of people kept losing money every month while Washington argued and stalled, until now. Congress finally passed the Social Security Fairness Act. It passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support. It passed the Senate in the final days of the session, and it was signed into law. And what this law does, at its core, is simple. It eliminates the Windfall Elimination Provision and the government pension offset entirely. No more reductions, no more penalties, no more quietly cutting checks to people who earn those benefits fair and square. If your Social Security benefits were being reduced because of WAPE, that reduction is going away. If your survivor benefits were reduced or wiped out because of GPO, that reduction is going away. That alone is historic. But the real story is in the details, because this isn't as simple as everyone waking up one morning to a bigger check. Let's talk about who actually qualifies, because this is where confusion and misinformation are spreading fast. If you are currently receiving Social Security retirement benefits and those benefits were reduced because of the Windfall Elimination Provision, the Social Security Administration now has to recalculate your benefit as if WEP never existed. That means your monthly check is going up. For some people, it might be $200 or $300. For others, it could be $500 or more. It all depends on how much WEP was cutting your benefits in the first place and how long you paid into Social Security. If you are receiving survivor benefits and those benefits were reduced or eliminated because of the government pension offset, the SSA has to recalculate those benefits too. Some surviving spouses who were receiving a very small check are going to see a significant increase. Others who were receiving nothing at all are now going to start receiving monthly survivor benefits. For people living on a fixed income, this is life-changing. Then there's the part everyone is really focused on: retroactive payments. This law doesn't just change benefits going forward, it also provides for retroactive payments going back to when the law took effect. That means if your benefits were reduced last month, the month before, or any month since the law became effective, the government owes you back pay. The Social Security Administration has to go through millions of records, recalculate what people should have been paid without WEP or GPO, and then pay the difference. For some people, that retroactive payment might be a few $100s. For others, it could be several thousand. It all depends on how much your benefits were reduced and how long you've been affected since the law took effect. These are lump sum payments, not monthly bonuses, and they are not coming all at once for everyone. Now, let me be absolutely clear about something, because this is where a lot of people are getting misled. This is not a universal Social Security bonus. This is not extra money for everyone on Social Security. If you worked your entire career in jobs that paid into Social Security and you never had a pension from a job that didn't pay into Social Security, this law does not change your benefits at all. Your check stays exactly the same. I'm saying this plainly because I don't want anyone getting their hopes up based on bad information floating around online. But if you worked in public service, if you have a pension from a job that didn't pay into Social Security, if your benefits were reduced because of WEP, or if you are a surviving spouse affected by GPO, then this law matters to you. A lot. Right now, the Social Security Administration is facing a massive task. Roughly 2.8 million people were affected by WEP and GPO. Every one of those cases has to be reviewed. Benefits have to be recalculated. Payments have to be adjusted. Back pay has to be calculated and issued. This is not a small update in a computer system. This is one of the largest recalculations the SSA has ever had to do. The SSA has said they are prioritizing this work, but let's be honest, government agencies do not move fast. Some people will see their increased monthly benefits and retroactive payments within weeks. Others will be waiting months. If your work history is complicated, if you had multiple employers, multiple pensions, or incomplete records, it may take longer. That's why you cannot afford to sit back and wait. You need to be proactive. You need to contact the Social Security Administration. Call them. Check your online account. Visit a local office if you can. Make sure they have accurate information about your work history and your pension. Errors in your file can delay your payments significantly. The people who stay on top of this are going to see results faster than the people who assume the system will fix itself. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, because nobody in Washington wants to focus on this part too much. Eliminating WEP and GPO is going to cost money. A lot of money. Estimates put the cost at around $196 billion over the next 10 years. And while I believe wholeheartedly that people should receive the benefits they earned, we cannot ignore the reality that Social Security is already facing serious financial challenges. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected to face depletion around 2033 or 2034. If nothing is done, benefits across the board could be cut by about 20%. Adding nearly $200 billion in costs accelerates the timeline. It makes the problem more urgent. That doesn't mean this law was wrong. It means Congress now has even less room to avoid making hard decisions. We need honest conversations about how Social Security is funded, about the payroll tax cap, about whether high earners should contribute more, about retirement age adjustments, about means testing. These are uncomfortable topics, but avoiding them doesn't make the math go away. Fixing one injustice doesn't solve the entire system's problems, and pretending otherwise only sets people up for disappointment later. Now, back to what you need to know right now. The Social Security Administration has created a dedicated section on its website explaining the Social Security Fairness Act. It outlines who qualifies, how benefits are being recalculated, and what kind of timeline to expect. Do not rely on social media posts, neighbors, or random videos claiming everyone is getting a big check. Go straight to the source. Read what applies to your situation. And here's another important thing people aren't talking about enough. Taxes. These retroactive payments are taxable income. If you receive a lump sum of several $1,000s, that money counts as income for the year you receive it. Depending on your total income, you may owe taxes on part of it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be happy about the money. It means you need to plan. Set some aside. Talk to a tax professional if you're unsure. The last thing you want is to spend every dollar and then get hit with an unexpected tax bill next year. And while we're on the subject of planning, let's talk about what to do with this money. For many people, this will be the first time in years they've had a financial cushion. Use it wisely, pay down high-interest debt, build or rebuild an emergency fund, take care of necessary home repairs, handle medical expenses. This isn't lottery money. This is delayed compensation for years of underpayment. The real power of this law isn't just the lump sum payment. It's the permanent increase in monthly benefits. An extra $300 or $400 a month adds up. Over a year, that's thousands of dollars. Over a decade, tens of thousands. That steady income can change the entire trajectory of someone's retirement. So here's the bottom line. This law is real. The changes are real. The money is real. But it's not automatic for everyone, and it's not simple. If you were affected by the Windfall Elimination Provision or the government pension offset, you need to pay attention, verify your information, and stay engaged with the Social Security Administration. You earned these benefits. You paid for them. And after decades of unfair treatment, the system is finally being corrected. Stick with this channel because I'll keep breaking this down as more details come out and as the SSA updates timelines and procedures. If this helped you understand what's really going on, make sure you like the video, share it with someone who might be affected, and subscribe so you don't miss future updates.